What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Bleed. I got my man Al Mack here. It's Odds HQ, it's odds.com, baby. And we are recapping the main card for the recently finished, we're talking about an hour ago, UFC Vegas 21, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. Or was that the main event, considering it was a no contest? We're going to get into it, man. Al Mack, hit us with how you're doing and hit us with them trends, man.
Yeah, like honestly, one of the reasons why we came on so late is because I had to do a little bit of research about how the books are grading a lot of these, and I honestly got a lot of different answers as you know, concerning the no contest in the first fight of the night, in the Eric Anders fight, and then in the fight with Leon Edwards. You know, and I got some. We'll talk about when we get there. I got some different answers, but all in all, what I had it up for was that the over went 7-4-2, and the fight goes the distance prop, or sorry, the fight doesn't go the distance prop, went 6-5-2. So and then favorites went 7-4-2. So the most profitable prop of the night was the fight doesn't go the distance. And technically, you know, depending on what book you were with, you know, a 6-5-2 could be an 8-5. So it's just a weird one, man. It was super hard to get a straight answer from some of these books. You know, the regulatory books in the States, you know, the legal books had, you know, a lot different answers than the offshores.
Sure.
We'll get in. I'll give you the two explanations when we'll start right off of it with this Eric Anders and Darren Stewart fight.
Yeah, that's how we kicked off the night. That's how we finished the night. I tell you what, Al, it really makes me reflect on where we're at in this sport. And it makes you realize, man, you know, like I said, we started this main card off with a no contest. I'm going to get into that here shortly. We end this card with a no contest. We're still so early in this game, man, that imagine an NBA or an NFL game where we end with the end of the game. They go, well, this is kind of a strange scenario, you know. We're just going to send both teams home. Nobody wins. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, in MMA, though, this is two people in there. And you know, it's just like the randomness of humanity, right? We get these crazy things. Who would have believed after the controversy? We had to talk about it all week. Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling, and here I am bringing it up again, but only because we see it rear its ugly head again. A knee landed on a downed opponent. Eric Anders, 4 minutes, 37 seconds of round number one, hits Darren Stewart with the illegal knee. Darren Stewart tries to say he can't continue. The doctor says, dude, you're done. They wave off the fight. I mean, what is there to say? Honestly, it's a great fight. Darren Stewart comes out in this fight real aggressive, hits Eric Anders with some really good shots, has him kind of hurt, has him kind of wobbled. Man, Eric Anders fires back, ends up landing some really good shots of his own, absolutely has Darren Stewart rocked, almost looking like he's going in for the finish. Darren Stewart collapsing, down on the mat. Why Eric Anders felt the need to throw that knee right there, especially considering how fresh this has got to be in the mind of everyone. It's really astounding, you know what I mean? And it's unfortunate. Eric Anders looked pretty good in that fight. I mean, Darren Stewart looked good early. Sure enough, here we are yet again. First round, no contest. It's like this fight never really happened, Al. I guess maybe let's reschedule this one. It was an absolutely action-packed fight to kick off the card. I understand its placement totally. It was a good fight while it lasted, but sure enough, it's like it never happened. Both guys walk away, no contest. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, I went back because I was kind of like looking away when it initially happened. And so I went back and I watched it, and I watched it in slow motion. And if you go back about 15 seconds before he threw that knee, he threw a very similar knee that was blocked. And I just got to say, I feel like the fight should have been stopped. Like the fight should have been stopped because Anders was winning, and it looked like that was a finish. And it looked like it was just a classic Herb Dean, where it looked like he was like, giving the feint of he's going to.
He likes to do that lately, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Herb is just in there fainting on a finish all night, isn't he? Wow.
Yeah. So it was it was quite weird. But then this is one of those ones where the answer that I got from the sports books basically was an illegal knee is going to, if you had the under, some books paid out on the under, which is quite strange. But like I said, the licensed and regulated books in the US, all bets are void.
Sure.
But if you look at those, if you look at the whatever the terms of the bet, it does say on some of those offshore markets that, if a fight is waived off because of a no contest by an illegal strike, the win bet is a push, but the totals, as far as fight goes, the distance in the totals, they're paying out on them. So it's a huge gray area, and I just hate it. It takes so long to put these results together when you don't know what some of the books are paying out for. And then we'll get even into it further when we get to the main event, because that was a whole different story. So yeah.
Crazy stuff to start the night off. I mean, what else is there to say about that one? All right, second fight of the night. Oh boy, you want to talk controversy? Oh, dude. Matheus Nicolau gets the split decision win over Manel Kape. I gotta say, man, I think this fight was closer than a lot of people are saying it was. And I understand most people are scoring this 29-28 Manel Kape. Man, and I totally understand. Absolutely. This was a very close fight. First round, I feel like pretty clear. Matheus Nicolau, I think he had some very good leg kicks, ended up getting the takedown and having a good amount of top control. Felt like it was a pretty clear first round for Nicolau. Second round, Nicolau kind of abandons the game plan that honestly gave him all of his success in the first round. Manel Kape is now the one landing on the feet, definitely having far more success, finding the timing, finding his distance, landing some really good shots on Nicolau, and seemed to really have Nicolau hurt at a couple points, pretty rocked. So I felt like it was a very clear second round for Manel. Third round, man, pretty much up for debate, but I'm not going to argue anybody saying that Manel Kape won that one. I got to tell you right now, I thought it was close. I had a bet on Matheus Nicolau, right? So I ended up cashing this one. I'll go ahead and call it a gift. I'll call it a gift win, and here's why. Man, I went to check on MMA decisions, right, to see what the media members scored this fight. And I expected to see a few people going Nicolau. I mean, somehow 2 of 3 judges, cage side, came out with 29-28 Nicolau. Dude, it is a clean sweep. Every media member scored that fight 29-28 Manel Kape. I mean, that's hard to argue against. You know what I mean? I will say this, though. Earlier in the night, we had a similar decision. Courtney Casey versus J.J. Aldrich on the prelims. All media members except absolutely one scored that for Courtney Casey. Man, sometimes these judges just see it different than what we see at home. I think that was totally the case here. Matheus Nicolau gets the slimmest of split decision wins. I'm not going to call it a robbery because, like I said, I do think it was fairly close, but I'm not going to say anyone was wrong scoring that for Manel Kape. Seems to be the consensus go-to. It's hard to believe that, 0 of 15 media members could score it for Matheus, but then 2 of 3 judges see it for him. What do you think of this one, Al?
Yeah, this is extremely frustrating for me because I had a bet on Manel Kape.
He's your boy.
You gotta back him. I'm a big fan of this guy, and I as soon as it happened, I was like, that's a total robbery. And then we were talking about before we started, and you mentioned the takedown in that first round, and I didn't really think about that. And the takedown and the top control, it really does matter. It matters. Obviously, it matters to some judges more than others. And we talked about this last week at the main event at UFC 259. So props to Nicolau for having the wherewithal to at first I thought we were going to see a finish because he looked rocked and Kape was pressing, and I don't know, man. With all that being said, this is one of those fights where I bet you if you asked Dana White, he would say that's ridiculous. Manel Kape won that fight. So even though he's coming off now 2 losses in his debut in the UFC, I think, his job is still fine. And, he's still going to be a valued fighter in this flyweight division. And this is just one of those fights where, you know, he in the people's eyes, he won. In the media's eyes, he won. So I don't think he's going to lose, you know, much stock. And,
Sure.
you know, we'll see him again. I would like to see him fight Tim Elliott. But yeah, on a different note, yeah, that was just, I don't know what it is with him. He just gets gun shy. And like, if you go back and watch him in Ryzen, he was not like that at all. It's
like a complacency, Al. You know, it's like after that clear-cut second round where he obviously won. You know, even the judges that scored the fight for Nicolau, they all scored the second round for Manel Kape. They might be incompetent. They're not that incompetent, right? You know, I think Manel's biggest problem, and it's the same critique I have of his first performance. If this guy would just go first a little bit more, if he didn't sit back and wait, I mean, I truly believe if Manel Kape maybe has 1%, 2% more output, it's a pretty clear-cut win for him in a fight that was so close. I really don't know, man. The guy, I'm not going to go as far as to call him gun shy. You know, a Tyron Woodley, to me, that's a dude who's gun shy. That's a dude who's just been shell-shocked into the inability to throw. But it is, man. It's the inability to go first that I think has probably cost Manel both wins. I think this guy very narrowly, you know, we're talking 3, 4, 5 strikes around away from probably being 2-0 in the UFC as opposed to 0-2. So I'm with you, Al. I don't think the stock's hurt. We know what this guy is. We know what he's capable of. We know he's a top-level flyweight. And I think, you know, they're going to have to match him up with somebody yet again, you know, lower down the ranks, I believe. And I expect we see Manel. And don't get me wrong, I do think he took a step in the right direction in this fight. It wasn't the debacle we saw in the first fight. We saw him make improvements. We saw a guy that definitely shored up some areas, but it just wasn't quite enough. But I do think we're going to see an even better, more focused Manel Kape in his next fight. Because let's be real, Al, if this guy comes into the UFC and goes 0-3, what are the odds that he sticks around? Probably not very good. His back is against the wall at this point. He needs to go out there and win a fight. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, like, I don't know. He's got to be really careful with who he fights next. But then let's also, another factor is he came in this fight on like 13 days notice. So he did do them a favor. So you still see guys, you know, we've seen, especially in the women's division, we've seen them, you know, string 4 losses together. But because 2 of those 4 were, you know, on short notice, they're not really in danger of losing their job. But I do agree with you. If he fights another guy who is, you know, not a total can and loses, then he's going to be in trouble. So yeah, he's got to either take another fight on short notice, or he's got to be very careful on who he fights next.
Oh, no. I'm trying to block this guy. Sorry, he said something. I got to give him credit, though. It was pretty funny. All right, so let's move on from that, man. Manel Kape, he's got to get it together. Mateus Nicolau, you know, returns to the UFC and, I mean, gets the win. However greasy it might be, the dude walks away with the W. Probably a little bit undeserved, but what are you going to do, right? Both guys, I think, are going to be mainstays in the UFC at this point. It was a pretty good fight all in all. All right, so here's one, man. Super disappointing for me, man. I just can't figure this out. One out. Davy Grant by just TKOs. Jonathan Martinez, 3 minutes and 3 seconds into the second round. Al, I hate to say it, but I'll just put it like this, right? Davy Grant, his path to victory in this matchup was supposed to be he goes out there and grapples Jonathan Martinez. He never does. Davy Grant goes out here and fights the Jonathan Martinez game plan. He goes out there and literally fights this fight in the wheelhouse of Jonathan Martinez. He goes out there and fights the perfect fight, exactly what Jonathan Martinez would hope and pray for, and he knocks Jonathan Martinez, the guy who everyone assumed would have the better striking here, and honestly, from a technical standpoint, does have the better striking. Davy Grant with Ngannou-esque looping, lunging hooks. He just continues to throw, continues to come forward. What I don't understand is Jonathan Martinez, how bad he looked in that second round. After looking fairly sharp in the first round, even gets a late knockdown. Davy Grant comes back with a vengeance, cashes as a big underdog. Martinez just doesn't go in the second round, eats a massive bomb. This was a huge bummer for me, man. I had Martinez in my parlay of the week where I take two favorites that I feel very confident in, pair them up. It has literally been my most successful bet of 2021. I was on such an unreal streak with this specific bet, right? Jonathan Martinez blows it up, or does he? Because I got news for you. Who did I have him paired up with? Leon Edwards. It's actually not a parlay. Turns into a straight bet on Jonathan Martinez. I lose it either way, but the parlay streak lives on, Al. To live another week. Tell me what you thought of this one, Al, because I think you had a pretty solid play here, didn't you?
Yeah, I had Davy Grant, and it was basically just I was handicapping the puncher's chance, and I thought he had a lot better of a chance than the plus 270 line that I got, at about 4:30 this afternoon. So it was, Jonathan Martinez is definitely the better fighter. Davy Grant, it was his night basically. And Jonathan Martinez, I don't know what he was doing. He was leading with his chin there. And Davy Grant, he did that thing where he did like the classic Bisbing, and he even mentioned it, like, just like me, where he led, he had his chin up. He was ready to take the shot. And that was the thing, is I feel like Grant realized that he was in some trouble with his leg. And he was like, I don't think I can go this whole fight. I don't think I can go this whole fight with my leg the way that it is. So he just went guns blazing, and all the credit to him, man. I didn't think that he should have been plus 270. He clearly should have been the underdog, but it was just one of those bets where I was like, it's either going to be Martinez by decision or Grant inside the distance. And just to make it, a little bit less stressful, I just took the money line. So I don't know. This is a hard one to take away. Like Davy Grant definitely overachieved, and Jonathan Martinez definitely, shit the bed. So it's a tough one to really, analyze, because I feel like if these guys fight 10 times, Martinez probably wins 6.5 of those. So
man, I'm thinking probably more. I just don't really know what Martinez's deal was, man, to look that good in the first round, then come out so flat and just allow Davy Grant to continuously throw. I just didn't really get it, man. And here's what's crazy, Al. So I said this on the Friday show. Davy Grant was never known for being a KO guy. That was only the third KO in his career right there. He got the big KO in his last fight against another striker in Martin Day. I actually said, which was a pretty good prediction, what if we see a Davy Grant coming out here trying to reinvent himself as a KO artist? That's what the dude absolutely did. Like I said, I just can't believe he would come out here. What's so strange to me is, if you could have told me before the fight, listen, Davy Grant's never going to hit a takedown. It's not going to happen. It's going to be a stand-up affair the whole fight. I would have gone all in on Jonathan Martinez, right? Like that's just how Jonathan Martinez wins this fight, So for Davy Grant to just throw such crazy looping shots, have so much success. I mean, he landed quite a few of them, previous to even the good KO shot that put Martinez down. So, I mean, I guess I can't be too critical. Sometimes it's that, weird, unorthodox stuff that seems to land. And that's kind of, Davy Grant, a pretty awkward style. He gets it done, man. 2 KOs in a row. Who's to say he doesn't go out there and KO the next guy? I don't know, man. Davy Grant, tough guy to get a solid read on. All I know is, man, I'm going to be very wary trying to go against this guy in the future. What do you think, Al? Should we move on, or do you got anything to say on this one?
No, let's move on, because this next one was super interesting and pretty disappointing for me.
Hey, listen, Al, there's only one way that I can describe this fight. We talked about Amanda Nunes, Megan Anderson last week. How do we summarize it? Non-event. This was a non-event. Dan Ige walks across the cage, waits for Gavin Tucker to move in, punches him one time, square on the chin, and Gavin Tucker goes down in a heap. Dynamite, 50K, Dan Ige. Oh my goodness. Another spot where I said, Dan Ige, this guy's got a reach advantage. Did that matter? No, it had nothing to do with reach. It was all about timing. It was all about speed. It was all about precision. It was all about power. Dan Ige, heavy-handed dude, Bink, Gavin Tucker, 1 shot. We're out of here. Gavin Tucker strikes 0 for 0. Dan Ige, 1 for 1. Walk-off KO, 22 seconds. I had a bet on Gavin Tucker. Al, this might be the quickest loss I've ever had betting MMA in my life. I mean, what is there to say? It happens, right? Dan Ige goes in, handles his business. It's almost too bad he didn't have like somebody else to fight like tonight. You know what I mean? Like, there's just nothing to it. Dan Ige, man, back on track, looking good. Al, hit me with it.
Yeah, this is disappointing to me because the way that I capped this fight was I thought it was just going to be Ige was going to edge out a decision. And, you know, Gavin Tucker is, you know, he's been pretty well known for his chin. You know, he can take some serious shots. He's, you know, he's a brawler. And if you told me that Dan Ige was going to knock out Gavin Tucker with 1 punch, a Conor McGregor-esque on Gavin Tucker, that I would have said, you're absolutely crazy. There's no way that that's happening. And, you know, the odds makers believed me, agreed. Ige by TKO is plus 650, even though he was the minus 140 favorite. So, you know, my read on it was right, but you know, Ige by decision goes down. I had the right fighter and still lost the bet, which that's always disappointing. And at minus 140, that, you know, there was some value there clearly. And
yeah, I mean, it's you know, that's just one of those scenarios though where it's just like unquantifiable. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there was anyone out there who, you know, watched the tape and they said, you know what, it's going to be Ige 1 punch in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just one of those scenarios, right? So what are you going to do? Dan Ige looks great. Man, Tucker had a really good run. Unfortunate that it ends that quick. At the same time, you know, what's better, eating the 1-shot KO and getting out of there or taking like a serious beating? I don't know. Honestly, we really don't know how that fight plays out. If they were to fight 10 times, who knows who comes out better, right? But it was Ige's night, undoubtedly. So what are you going to do? Dan Ige moves on. Dude's in line for another big fight. So yeah. Dan Ige, man, maybe this guy's a KO artist now. But speaking of KO artists, we move on to the co-main event. Unfortunately, it pretty much turned into our main event. Ryan Spann in 1 minute, 11 seconds of the first round takes out Misha Cirkunov with ease, just walks through this bum, Misha Cirkunov, the most fragile man in the UFC 205-pound division. Dude, I had Cirkunov. I'm so frustrated with this spot, right? I felt like we don't all watch weigh-ins. I do. Ryan Spann undoubtedly had the worst weight cut of anyone this week. You know, needed the extra hour to make weight. Sure enough, made it, but, you know, looked bad. Wouldn't make eye contact with Misha. Body language didn't look good. I'll be honest, man. From the walk tonight, he looked very recovered, very refreshed, very aggressive. Goes in there, just walks through really anything Misha Cirkunov threw, which I'll keep it real. The fight lasted a minute, right? Cirkunov started the fight landing some pretty good shots. Ryan Spann just pretty much eats them. I mean, even really like the finishing sequence or the beginning of it, Misha Cirkunov lands a really good shot. Spann just counters it while eating the shot and hits Misha with a better one. Straight shot down the pipe. This guy, Misha Cirkunov, he's got really good grappling, but I mean, look at this dude's record, right? He either first round finishes or either gets taken out. You know, already had 2 30-second knockouts against him. Now tonight adds another minute KO. This dude's fragile. He just can't take a shot. Ryan Spann backers, congratulations. Good bet. I thought it was a bad bet, all things considered, as far as the weight cut went. But Ryan Spann shows sometimes that just doesn't matter. Goes in there and absolutely blows through Misha Cirkunov. Very impressive performance. He's probably in line to get a pretty good fight here. So Misha Cirkunov, I don't know where he goes from here. This is an untrustworthy guy. This is a guy that honestly it's scary to bet against because he does have the ability to pull a submission out of nowhere. But at the same time, you can't bet with this guy because he has durability issues fighting at light heavyweight where everyone hits hard. So I don't know what to say. Ryan Spann gets it done. Cirkunov, he's a bum. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And this is one of those ones where I had like a regional advantage because Cirkunov fights out of Toronto. So I saw some hype on Serkinov this week, and I was just like, you people don't know what you're talking about. This guy is made of glass. And I was all over Ryan Spann. I was all over the under in this one. And the thing about Serkinov is, so he fights out of Extreme Couture Toronto, which is like, in North York. It's not even actually in Toronto. Go and look at the people that fight out of that gym. Okay.
Good point.
The second fighter listed on Tapology.
Well, this is going to be good.
When you click Extreme Couture.
Let me hear this.
Robin Black.
Oh, dude. Okay. Hold up. Okay. I had low expectations, but I at least thought you were going to like give me somebody who like actually is a current fighter. That's none. I mean, hey, it's pretty cool for Robin Black, but that's pretty hilarious too. So
there's none. And like when people say, you see this a lot, like when people say like, oh, he's the type of guy who like he peaked at his gym, he needs a change of scenery. Yep. Like this is you could have said that about Serkinov, 4 years ago.
True.
Basically. And yeah, I don't know offhand what his contract situation is, but he's gone. Like he's cut for sure. And
you might be right, Al.
I never like to see people lose their jobs because, he probably still has a career in MMA. He would be great for Bellator, I think. But yeah, like there's nothing else to say about this guy. And the fact that he was in a co-main event is just, I don't know. They were definitely setting up Ryan Spann because I can't imagine them having any real true belief in this guy. And what we also didn't see is that he's a gas can. So like if this fight went any further, if this fight went into the second, into the later parts of the second round, Ryan Spann would have had this in the bag either way. So yeah, this was one of those bets where I wish I bet more because it was exactly the way I read it. But yeah, like you said, that hitting power always makes you, it always makes you hesitant when you're betting against a guy that can hit so hard. But yeah, Ryan Spann was a home run play.
Yeah, Al, here's where the real home run play was, the under, dude. Like, I'm so irritated in retrospect, and don't get me wrong, right? Hindsight's 2020. I'm sure I could have gave you a reason why I didn't bet the under before the fight started. And I guess I would probably say I thought there was a chance that maybe it would be a really slow start to the fight. We've seen Ryan Spann, very flat-footed, very plodding, very slow and calculated, to start fights. So, but that just wasn't the case. And, I probably should have known better when we saw Ryan Spann not have a very good weight cut. Ryan Spann I feel like that probably implies that he might realize he's not going to have the gas tank to go 3, therefore goes out there and just goes for it right off the bat. It's pretty much what we saw, man. So like I said, hindsight's 2020, but I really, really wish I would have bet that under now, man. I feel like a moron for not, Misha pretty much win or loses every fight in the first round. Happens again tonight. Man, unfortunate miss right there. So what are you going to do, right?
Yeah, it is what it is. Let's move on to this circus of the main event.
Oh, man, and here we go again. Leon, I mean, what is there to say? Leon Edwards eye pokes Belal Muhammad severely in the second round, 18 seconds into round 2. I will say this, up to the eye poke, Leon Edwards was putting in work, okay? Yeah. I had Leon Edwards as the back end of a parlay, but sure enough, this is null and void, another no contest spot. Leon Edwards did look spectacular leading up to the eye poke. Was really putting it on Belal, ends up throwing a left head kick that absolutely just sneaks around, the guard, clips him really good, wobbles Belal. I honestly think, and I said this on Friday, and I honestly, I'll stick to this for sure. I think Leon Edwards is absolutely gonna get through Belal Muhammad over the course of 25 minutes. And the way that fight was playing out, the way that first round played out, I absolutely think that was going to happen. I'm not going to say Belal Muhammad was lucky to get out of that fight with an eye poke. Not at all. As a matter of fact, that is probably one of the most vicious eye pokes we've ever seen. The way Belal Muhammad reacted in such a panicked state, I was honestly concerned that this dude might lose his eye. I did check into it. It turns out Belal is okay. He's at the hospital. They said no permanent damage, and he should be all right. Man, that's a relief for me, man. I really like Belal Muhammad. I'm a fan of Belal Muhammad. I've made a lot of money betting with, backing this guy. Right? That would be such a travesty for him to have a Michael Bisping type situation where he potentially lost some of his vision or even his eye completely. Dude, that was very gnarly. I mean, the guy's standing there when they read the no contest, blood coming out of his eye. Man, I've had some minor scratches to the eye, and that is so agonizing. I couldn't imagine the pain and the suffering Belal Muhammad's going through. I'm sure they've got him on some drugs or something at this point. But man, just a real travesty here, man. Leon Edwards looks like he's on his way to get a win. We haven't seen him fight since 2019. Belal Muhammad steps up, gives himself a main event spot on quick turnaround. I mean, this is a no contest. It's like it never happened. Leon Edwards is cursed. This guy just can't get a real deal fight. But at the same time, man, who I poked Belal? Leon Edwards. If there's anyone to blame here, I guess it's Leon for having the fingers out. And I hate to bring this up, but we got to do something about these gloves, man. Bellator, Strikeforce. For those of you who don't know, there is a difference between a UFC glove and a Bellator and even the old school Strikeforce gloves. Those gloves have a curvature to them that essentially makes it impossible for you to stick your fingers straight out to totally elongate your hand. Your hand's curved, your hand's more cupped, right? More like it would be in a boxing glove. And it really reduces the number of eye pokes. I just don't know why Dana White continues to allow eye pokes. I mean, do we ever get through an event? We probably don't ever get through a main card or even a prelim card without having a fight stopped due to eye pokes. It happens over and over again. And here we go. We lose a very important main card, main event, right? We need Leon Edwards to win this fight. This was a title shot fight. And now Leon Edwards goes back into this limbo, right? And I just don't know what to do with the guy coming off this. Al, I could talk about this fight forever, man. Hit me with what you think here.
Yeah, this was it was one of those things where you're coming into it and you're like, yes, Leon Edwards is cursed. The MMA gods absolutely hate Leon Edwards, right? And you're watching this about 4 minutes into this fight, and you're just like, okay, here we go. And sure enough, the MMA gods strike again, and this fight ends with an eye poke in a main event. And I think the last time that happened was Yair Rodriguez, right? Yair Rodriguez in Mexico City against Jeremy Stevens. Yep. And that one was really bad too. Yep. But this one was worse. And I don't know what to say. And then Leon Edwards, I don't know if any of you caught his post fight, but he said that he felt like he won the fight and he proved that he doesn't need to fight Belal again. And that's just ridiculous. Even though I do agree he was winning that fight and he was probably either going to finish him or win 50-45, but that's insane to say. And these two have to fight again. It absolutely has to happen. But, knowing Dana White, knowing the UFC, it might not even happen. And and then another thing that I wanted to bring up, this was different because this was a 5-round fight. So I asked around, and if this happened in the 4th round, the totals would have been live, but because it was ended in an eye poke, no contest, unlike an illegal knee, the totals and the fight goes the distance prop in this fight are void across the board. So some weird difference between a fight ending from an illegal knee and a fight ending waved off by a no contest. So that being said, that's why last week the knee, and I didn't even realize this when we were talking about it, the illegal knee, the total in that fight cashed. So they paid out on the over 3.5, and the under 3.5 was a loss. And that's because the fight went longer than 2.5 rounds. So some really weird always make sure to read your terms, the terms of your, especially now.
Yeah, well, you know why, Al? Because, officially, a no contest, you got to think a no contest means from like an on paper perspective, there was no contest. Like it did not happen, right? Whereas that was actually an Aljamain Sterling DQ win. You know what I mean? Like that was officially, it's an official fight. It's an official ruling. So I guess it would make sense for the overs and unders to apply in a situation like that. So, but it's some wacky stuff, man. And honestly, that's the recap for UFC Vegas 21. A super weird, wacky turn of events, a little bit what's the word I'm looking for here? We were set for just an absolutely action-packed main event, and we're kind of sitting here we never really got it going. We got one round of action, unfortunately. So I almost feel like we got robbed from a really good fight, and I think Leon Edwards was really going to show us something. Unfortunately, he just showed us his eye poke technique is deadly. So hey, I'll put it like this though. You know what? Let's go ahead. Let's get all that funky stuff that we've been seeing as of late. Let's get it all. Let's just take care of the rest of the year. We'll get all that stuff out of the way. Let's move on to these next cards. We're going to have some nice regular UFC action. The fights are going to be readable. People are going to fight how you expect them to. Let's get that going. So let's take a look into the future, man. Al, what do we have coming up here, dude?
Yeah, so this is something a public service for everybody who watched last week, because I came out last week and I said, pretty definitively that Francis Ngannou was going to beat Stipe Miocic at UFC 260. And I got to say, I've completely changed my mind on this. I've completely taken a 180. Okay. And it just slipped my mind. And I went back and watched Ngannou's last two losses, and I completely forgot how much this guy gets gassed. Like he is one of the most I was messaging you on Twitter, and I said, in the start of the fourth round or the start of the fifth round against Stipe way back at UFC 220, Herb Dean wasn't gonna stop the fight, but he was looking at Ngannou because he was so gassed, and like he was talking to the doctor, and he was just like, look at him. And Ngannou, like, he gets to a point where he's just surviving. He's no longer on the offense. He's just throwing back to survive. And you go back and look at Stipe against Cormier, and I specifically said I don't think that Stipe is going to be able to pummel against the cage and have that cage control, that stand-up grappling cage control. He's absolutely going to do that to him. And I think that, you're getting plus money on Stipe. I got to go completely opposite of what I said last week. I think Stipe, either Stipe by decision or Stipe just on the money line, if he's going to stay as an underdog, I think that's the play, man. I think that even if this turns into a slugfest, we've seen that Miocic is able to survive, a beating, and I still think he has a chin. And I think that if you're getting plus money on the champion here, I think you got to take it. So sometimes people change their minds, and that's why we do this. That's why we do this, a month or a couple weeks in advance. Because I went, the first time that we do this after a big UFC event, like after a big pay-per-view, and we're looking to the next one, I'm kind of we're just doing it off the top of our heads. But sure, when I went and did the tape study, I went and did the numbers.
Hey, dude, all day, all the time, man. There's times where I've gone as far as looked at a spot and said, hey, I might bet on this guy. I'll fully research that thing, and I'm placing a bet on the other guy. You know what I mean? So tape study's vital, man, and just putting in the work, right? Man, Al, I just got to tell you, like, I still don't know who I'm going with in this fight. I mean, it's as simple as this, and somebody in the chat pretty much nailed it, because for me, this fight breaks down to Ngannou catches Stipe in the first, maybe the second round, hits him with that kill shot, that touch of death, or Stipe probably goes on to win this fight. We've seen the longer you can last against Ngannou, the weaker he gets. You know, the danger levels succeed, the easier he is to take down. I will say this, though, man. I would be absolutely stunned. Well, maybe stunned's too strong of a word, but I would be surprised if Ngannou comes into this fight with the same skill set he did in the first fight, which by the same skill set, I mean hits really hard and has absolutely no takedown defense or ability to get up off of his back. I believe he knows he was exposed by Stipe the first time. I do believe Ngannou has been spending time working on takedown defense. I think he's had to have worked on his ability to get up off the mat. I just don't know if it's going to be enough when he gets tired and this fight gets late. So to me, man, I see two ultra likely outcomes. Francis Ngannou finds the kill shot in the first or second round, or Stipe goes on to win a fairly clear-cut victory, possibly even finishes Ngannou late. And that's just how I feel about it, dude. Like, I just can't pick a winner. When it comes to a Francis Ngannou situation, analytics go out the window. Technique goes out the window. This dude brings, you know, beyond human power. You know, this is a superhuman situation. Now, if you can play the matador, if you can avoid that power and drag this dude late, he's beatable. He becomes human. But inside the first 10 minutes of the fight, you have to wonder if this guy's going to touch your face and if your nervous system's going to be able to stay on. You know what I mean? And that's just how this fight breaks down, truly. And I don't know who I'm going to pick. I still don't. I'm going to need all the time in the world. I can imagine I'll put out my prediction video and still possibly change my mind. I feel like this fight's going to be one of those fights that I'm going to need to get a feel for the week of. You know, I need some clues. I need some tips. I want to gather all my evidence, and I'm going to wait till just the last second to try to come up with, because, man, my thing is I'll never take a pass, ever. I will always come out with who I believe should win the fight. And if it's a 50-50 fight, I'm still going to come up with a reason why I believe this guy should be the one who gets it done. I just believe, man, we're in this game to make a pick. I'll always make a pick. But as of right now, dude, I just can't do it, because it's just that it's those two scenarios, and both seem so likely to me. I just don't know, Al. What do you think?
Yeah, and I agree. It's just like, I feel like this fight should be 50-50, and it's not. And you're getting plus money on the champion. And I'm looking now, and Frank Ngannou is still taking money. He's at minus 150 now at Bet365. So I mean, if money keeps coming in on Stipe, there's going to be some value on Miocic. However you cap this fight, there's going to end up being value on Stipe. Even if you think that Ngannou is going to win, I don't think that he should be. You know, if he ends up being like a minus 175 favorite in this fight against Stipe, regardless of how you think this fight's going to play out, you can't deny that there's going to be a good amount of value on Miocic. And then that being said, I'm looking right now, the over 1.5 rounds is minus 125. And I think that's a bet that I feel like there's some heavy value there, because basically, if you're the way that you handicap this fight is just like how you said. If Stipe is able to last the first 7.5 minutes of this fight, the pace is going to slow down significantly, and that's obviously going to be his game plan, right? So I think there's some heavy value on that, on the over 1.5 rounds at this price. If it goes a little bit higher, no, but at minus 125, I think that's a solid play.
Yeah, because you're right, Al. Where that's set at, it's essentially, if you're taking the under, you're taking Ngannou. If you're taking the over, you're taking Stipe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much what it breaks down to. So, what do you think, Al? Are there any other fights you're targeting that we should cover here?
Just really quickly, I don't really remember what I said last week about Ortega and Volkanovski, but that fight, I broke it down a little bit further, and I just think that it's either going to be Ortega's going to have to either stop him, or Volkanovski's going to get the decision, because I just think that as good as Ortega was when we saw him against the Korean Zombie, I think that Volkanovski is probably a better point fighter.
Sure.
So I do think that, and that being said, I'm not saying that Ortega is not going to be able to put out Volkanovski, because Brian Ortega has some crazy stoppage victories, and even in fights that he was losing, he's come back and been able to pick up the stoppage win. So this is one of those where I'm feeling more towards how you were feeling about the heavyweight fight, where I can't really call it yet, and this is one of those ones where I'm either going to be betting Ortega on the plus money, or I'm going to be betting Volkanovski by decision, because it seems like the value on the money line, it's minus 165 on Volkanovski still. I don't really like that. I think that the fight is a little bit closer than what that's saying. And then, yeah, I would have to say if I'm taking Ortega, it's got to be on the money line at plus 160. But I feel like I can't see Volkanovski winning inside the distance, because I just think that Ortega is extremely tough. Even when he lost to Max Holloway, I was there. I was cage side, and Ortega would have kept fighting. The doctors had to stop the fight. So I feel like, I don't think that Volkanovski is going to be able to stop Ortega. He might be able to submit him though, but Ortega's got a crazy ground game as well. So this is a super, super hard fight to call. What do you think? Any further looks into this one?
Man, I think I just got to probably reiterate what I said last week. The thing that's so tough to me is it's that big layoff that Ortega had. The dude just appeared to elevate, so much. He grew so much over that gap. It does make me wonder, did we overestimate Korean Zombie? Man, it's so tough for me to gauge where Brian Ortega is at, because I know this guy's elevated, but I'm trying to figure out where he falls here. Has he elevated to that level of Max Holloway? Did that beating he received from Max Holloway make him realize, I've got X and Y areas to get better in, and did. I would honestly love to see that fight again, considering the numbers Ortega put up against Korean Zombie, the numbers Holloway put up against Calvin Kattar. Man, I would almost love to see that fight run back again before we have Ortega. Because I'm saying right now, Ortega wins that fight. Oh, dude. Yeah, he definitely should be fighting for the title. It is almost a little bit strange to me to come off such a long layoff. You beat Korean Zombie. Now you're in line for a title shot. I guess it's just kind of how the rankings fall right now. But, man, Volkanovski, I feel like this guy is so good at nullifying what his opponents are trying to do. Now, don't get me wrong, man. Both fights to Max Holloway were so close. I mean, it's arguable. I think I could see a case for people saying Max absolutely could have won the second one. But both fights were just so close. And, we saw what Max Holloway's capable of against Calvin Kattar. This dude is ultra elite. And for Volkanovski to hang at that level and even be, at least in the judges' eyes, slightly better, man, it's tough for me to see Ortega reaching that level in such a short period of time with so few fights, leading up. Like if we saw Ortega just go on like a 5 or 6 fight, killing spree, just did what he did to Zombie, 4 or 5 different times to every guy, I think I'd have a much better read on where he stands right now. But at the same time, because I feel like I don't know where Ortega stands, I feel like Ortega might come in here and make this a very close fight, might even win. You know what I mean? So honestly, a tough spot, man. I'm going to lean Volkanovski. I think he's the champion. I think he fights with a very, very good championship mentality, and he fights so meticulously with such sharp technique. All the work he does seems to really register with the judges. And I feel like a guy that fights with that style, it's going to be so hard if a fight goes to the scorecards for the judges to feel validated in taking the belt off the champion. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and just saying that out loud right now, man, makes it so hard to go against a guy like Volkanovski. I'm going to have to say I lean Volkanovski, but man, I just need more time to really digest this one too. This is a very complex fight, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. And then just moving on, there's one fight that I did not change my mind on, and that is Vicente Luque is going to 100% beat Tyron Woodley. It would take an act of God for Tyron Woodley to win this fight. So, I've said something. I've been wrong before on this show. I've been right before too, but I 100% promise you, Vicente Luque is going to win this fight. Okay,
man. Al, I'm trying to think, man. What do you think? Do we cook up a challenge? Do we do an Al Mac challenge? What could we do if Tyron Woodley wins this? Let me ask you this, Al. What are you willing to do if Tyron Woodley wins this fight?
I'm willing to bet a lot of money on Vicente Luque that if I lose, I will be out of a lot of money, and I'll show the ticket.
Oh no. Okay. Well, listen, Al, I'm totally with you, dude. Tyron Woodley, he's just honestly, I'm surprised to even see the guy fighting at this point. Now, don't get me wrong. Would it be on brand for Tyron Woodley to win this fight, as wild and weird as 2021's been? God, I don't even want to put that energy out there, my brother. But I'm with you, dude. Vicente Luque, this guy's so deadly, so dangerous, great boxing. Tyron Woodley, the dude just won't go. He just won't throw. And I can't remember the last time I saw a fight where one guy got hit, the other guy won't throw, and they gave it to the guy who refused to fight. And that's where Tyron Woodley is at this point. He's lost at least, I'm pretty sure it's 15 straight rounds at this point. Tyron Woodley's lost. And that's including the late stoppage with Colby. So don't get me wrong. He's losing to the best of the best, but Vicente Luque is, he's not on the Usman level. He's not on the Colby Covington level, but he's still at a level I feel that's too much for an absolutely shot ghost of his former self, a shell of his former self that appears to be Tyron Woodley at this point. So I'm with you there, Al. Is there any other thing you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I just wanted to, we've talked about this before. I have like 2 betting accounts, and like everybody can go look and see, like I've done pretty well in the past year with MMA. I'm really disciplined. I don't bet any more than like 2.5%. That's my unit size. But I've talked to you about this before. I have another account where I kind of get a little bit undisciplined. And, I did that 100% with Israel Adesanya. Not only did I bet off more than I can chew with my prediction, but, I bet way too much money on Israel Adesanya. And this week, man, I had to, I was betting on sports that you've never heard of, on teams that you can never pronounce. And it culminated yesterday afternoon with me betting, a huge amount of money on a team called Plaza Coloni in Uruguay soccer. And I'm not even going to say what I bet, but I bet on a minus 250 favorite to win the money back that I lost on Israel Adesanya. And so just a public service announcement, that being said, I'm still going to bet the same amount of money on Vicente Luque because, we all learn from our losses, but this is completely different. There is no way that Vicente Luque is going to win this fight going to lose this fight. But you have to be willing, to part ways with your money sometimes. And I bit off a little bit more than I could chew with the Adesanya. And I had to spend, 6 or 7 days crawling back so I can get to the spot where I made the money back. And it's not fun. So, be responsible. Don't be like me. Be like my other account. Don't be like my big mouth account where I try to back my predictions, because sometimes it can't all be Dustin Poirier plus 300. Sometimes you got to lose. And I called that one completely wrong. But
Al,
you gotta take your losses sometimes.
Yeah, Al, I swear, dude, if Vicente Luque hits Tyron Woodley with an illegal knee and gets DQ'd.
Oh my God.
Please, dude. Come on, man. All right. All right. Are we done here, Al? Are we going to wrap up on that note?
Yeah,
Let's wrap it up on that note. Al guarantees Vicente Luque defeats Tyron Woodley. Can we get a method of victory? What's the method of victory here, Al?
It's gonna be by decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
It says by decision. You heard it here first up, people. Al Mack, Vicente Luque, by decision. It's an absolute lock. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for chilling with us, having a few laughs. I'm Bleed. He's Al Mack. That was the craziness that was UFC Vegas 21. I cannot wait to move on to next week, dude. Looks like we got a pretty decent card. All in all, who knows? This game's wacky. All we can do is make some money, have some fun, have some laughs, cash some tickets. Best of luck, everybody. Appreciate you guys for watching. Hit that thumbs up, and we are out of here.